From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Hi, I'm Stephen Uden. I'm substituting on another episode of Around Foxborough, and I'm honored, pleased, and blessed to talk to somebody here I've known in town for quite a while, and a very caring and energetic person who has a pretty serious or very serious cause to talk about for the next 20 minutes or so. She's our friend. Many people know her here, Kris Long.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good to see you
Good to
again.
see you too.
It's so fun. But today is a very serious conversation.
Yep.
It matters to an untold number of people here and across the fruited plains, right?
Yep.
Okay. You have an organization called the Stakes Are High, right?
Yep.
And I'm wondering, I'd like if you would to sort of explain that name and elaborate a little bit on why we're calling it that. It's a good name once you know what it is.
What it means. Yep.
It's a good project that we're going to talk about too.
Yeah. So when I decided to finally move forward with this, coming up with the name was something that we wanted it to have impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not a side of beef, steak. It's a flag. It's a stake. It's something that, it has purpose,
Mm-hmm.
just like a life. A life has purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So a life, your stake is high.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the stakes are high. It's not an actual physical place in town, right? It's a if you will, a movement that you're working on.
Yep.
And creating awareness, and God bless you. I think you should create awareness, because this is a remarkable program. What is the program and what's it about? I know.
Yep.
But our friends out beyond the cameras need to know.
Sure. So.
And you've been in the paper. A lot of people know about
this
program.
I'm an activist. I work in the
Good,
field.
good.
I'm a recovery coach, and then I'm also a navigator for people that suffer from substance use.
Substance abuse.
Yep.
Okay.
As well as mental health.
Uh-huh.
So the stakes are high. I started about 5 years ago now. I can't even remember.
Uh-huh.
And what we do is we place flags around the common in different colors. And each color represents a year. Each flag in the year represents a life that has been lost to accidental overdose in that year. So, for instance, this year, which will be 2023, there'll be 2,125 flags that we will place that were lost, lives that have been lost in the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah.
When are you placing the stakes?
So my husband and I will be up there on the common probably around 7:30 in the morning, and we mark it out, and then volunteers are welcome to join us from 9:30 a.m. on until we're done.
On what day?
Saturday.
Or days?
Saturday.
This coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday. Yep.
So that's August,
24th, I think.
I
Is that
think
right?
so.
Yeah, the 24th.
I don't have my cell phone with me,
I
so
know.
I can't look. So I don't know anything right now.
Yeah.
Do families participate in this that have been affected in one of a billion different ways with addiction and substance abuse and mental health issues?
Yes, absolutely.
Do they help place flags?
They help place flags. We welcome anybody and everybody, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. Everyone is affected by addiction in one way or another. You have an uncle, you have an aunt, you have a grandfather, you have a loved one. And, the stories that have come up and the people that have come up over the years are, it makes me feel good that they feel, like there was a purpose in their loved one's life, even if it's only up for a week, and even if it's only a 2x3 little flag, it means something.
But it's not. It's somebody that matters.
Right.
And matters to somebody or
Right.
matters to the world and whatever they did, right?
Right, because you really only ever hear about the famous people
Right.
that overdose and die. You don't necessarily hear about the father that was working 3 jobs and, had a substance use problem because he was not taking care of himself, or, the mom or the child that, like my son, was an athlete. And he got introduced to opiates because he dislocated his shoulder. And part of his story is he'll tell you that when he was given meds to relax, he fell in love with that feeling. He didn't understand it, but he fell in love with that feeling.
It was introduced to his system.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
I'm afraid to ask, are the flag numbers growing per year?
So last year it had a huge spike, which we anticipated because of the whole COVID pause and people getting back into reality slowly. This year they did have a 10% decrease. Mm-hmm. So about 200 people less died this year than the year before. So is it going down? It is, but it's really not. And
even with a drop, it's not a success.
No.
Right?
No.
Until there's nothing to put in the ground, nothing to stake in the ground, an honorarium or
right. We start at the
awareness.
top of the. We start at the top of the common, and
on what side? The Bank of America Union?
At the gas station, right at the top.
Okay, at the BP there.
Yep, right at the top, and we're almost halfway around the common.
On the way toward Memorial Hall.
Side. Yep.
Okay, heading towards South Street.
Yep.
So what 3 colors will people start seeing when this?
The first one is green, orange. I don't know.
I didn't mean to stump you. I'm just saying. Well, no, I just didn't know if it was like 2023,
no,
2022.
It starts in 2015.
Okay.
And it goes to the current year, and the current year will be purple. So last year for 2022. We had 2,357, I believe. So there was 2,357 purple flags. This year, 2022 will be a different color, but 2023 will be purple. Purple represents the current year.
But the goal of the stakes are high is to create awareness. Are there services involved with the stakes are high organization as well? Do you counsel? Point people towards resources?
Of course.
Do you have volunteers that help with that? I'm not going to ask you if you have paid employees because I don't think you do. To be honest with you,
it's not a brick and mortar. It's a event that happens once a year.
Okay.
But
you're ongoing all year.
We're ongoing in raising awareness.
Right.
Absolutely. The dream was actually to take Stakes Are High on the road. And to go to various places, like the towns that are really affected, like Lowell and Worcester, and really raise awareness there. But it hasn't taken flight yet. How amazing would it be to drive over the bridge and see all those flags on that the circle that they have there? Like, it'd be really beautiful and amazing, but then when you really take a look at it, and you say, "Holy cow! Those are lives."
Yeah, on the rotary over the Cape Cod bridges, that would speak very loudly,
right?
Especially while you're driving with your mind on
going to the beach,
and lighthearted
family
things,
and vacation,
it'll wake you up.
Yeah, it's pretty. That was the dream of it. It just hasn't taken flight yet.
You mentioned something a little earlier in this conversation about addiction. Has this affected you at all? I don't want to get personal.
My story's out there.
Would you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
To the degree that you're comfortable.
So I have 5 kids.
Okay.
They're all grown adults now.
Okay.
And when my daughter graduated from high school, she had been dabbling, but nothing like the grades maintained, social life maintained. Like, I had no idea. It wasn't really until we started going through it with my son, and we took him out of Foxborough because of the stigma. And the way we were being treated in town by other families, because at the time it was almost like my son had leprosy. You know, nobody wanted to be around him. Nobody really understood what was going on, and there were a lot of closed minds to addiction.
Okay, so I think it's important that we talk about stigma a little later.
Yep.
But it affected your family, and it's obviously gut-wrenching to a mother and a father to see these things happen. Is that what drove you to the stakes are high?
It's just
movement?
it's just one little facet. So as I was running around trying to fix my kids, because that's what we do as parents, we fix our kids, I got sucked into the field. Not in a bad way, but it was very, very eye-opening.
You mean awareness and prevention and elimination?
And working in the field, putting people into treatment and learning about all of those types of things. I've worked for treatment centers throughout the country. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I worked.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, I got into it, like I said, not by choice.
I'm not making light of this, but I'm trying to find some grace in here somewhere.
Yep. It was, I got involved because of what happened to our family in a way, and it wasn't really anybody's fault. It's lack of education. Stigma is because there's lack of education, right?
Okay,
There's a stigma, it could be with anything.
Yeah.
With addiction, it's about lack of education. People don't understand the addicted brain.
When you worked in different locations, can you give me a little geography lesson of where you traveled to?
I used to work, I was in Massachusetts, and I would send people to Florida. I worked for a treatment center in Florida.
Really?
Yep. And it wasn't until Governor Baker put a thing, he sent a letter out to every treatment center, every detox in the state of Massachusetts saying, do not send people to Florida, because Florida was the hub for really good treatment, but it blew up. So people were going
at capacity?
In capacity,
exceeded
and then
capacity?
It just got to be really bad. Like there was a lot of body broking. There was a lot of treatment centers that were not legitimate. There was just a lot of exposure to bad treatment.
Okay. So you had to go somewhere
so I
else?
continued in Florida, and I got more education, and I really sort of deep dove into ethics around treatment. And it really wasn't until I took an ethics class and realized what I was doing. I didn't cross the ethical borders, but I was pretty close.
Zeal and passion and the matters of the heart, they'll
meanwhile,
push you to, you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing, but meanwhile, my kids are down in Florida. They're in treatment. And it really wasn't until my daughter got pulled out of a flop house, and I got the rude awakening of what was going on in Florida. It's like what you see on TV. She had a good insurance policy. They would put her in treatment. They would tell her, we'll give you $2,000 if you complete this 30-day program. You complete that 30-day program, they give you $2,000. They put you in one of their houses with the drug dealer living across the street. And then you blow that $2,000 and you go back into the treatment, and they just cycle and cycle and cycle.
It's insidious.
It's what was happening.
It's satanic. It's demonic.
It's what was happening.
So that's what happened to your family.
Yep.
You talked about stigma here locally as it affected you. Can you educate us again on the stigma needing education to eliminate a stigma? How does that happen?
I think
is it through programs like yours that create awareness and and shine a light
the
on
conversation. You have to start the conversation. You have to start that uncomfortable conversation. It's...
And you don't want to do it from an emergency room.
No. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sat in an emergency room with a loved one that has overdosed, and their family is just, they're done. They can't do anything anymore. And, the hospital is sick and tired of seeing the same person coming in and in and in. And instead of talking about it, we just push them to the side. We're not, and the same holds true for families. You can't just go into the school and say, hey, my little Johnny, I caught him snorting coke. the school's going to be like, oh my God, we can't have that in our school system. Take care of him. Like, get him out of our school system. We need to educate. We need to talk about it. We need to let kids know. We need to let families know that it's okay to talk about it.
Do you think, because I gotta believe that it's out there, that public educators or even private educators are getting some kind of training or awareness on this, but they need more at the administrative level or the teaching level, or, you know, and I don't mean higher and lower, I mean like across the board. Like the custodians know a lot more about the school and its occupants than some of the people at the other end of the bar, that the administrators, right? And so do you think that that needs to be enhanced?
I think it does
amped?
need to be enhanced.
Right?
You know, they get, for instance, my granddaughter is affected. Okay, she's not an addict, but she's affected. And she's in the high school. And
here in town?
Yep.
In Foxborough, okay.
Yep. And she shared that in health class, they showed a movie. And in that movie, they showed a young man actively using IV drugs with a needle, and he overdosed, and he died in this movie. Now, as a parent, as a guardian, as whatever you are to that child in the school system, you know, I feel like we weren't notified. Like, we were not notified. And for somebody, and there's a lot of kids, not just in Foxborough, but there's a lot of kids that are affected by substance use. And they see what mom and dad do. They see what grandma and grandpa or uncle and aunt do. And they don't really talk about it because there's nobody to really talk about it with.
Do you mean that the parents weren't notified that they were exposed to this movie, or that this movie had a positive impact on the student body? I'm sorry for the dumb look on my face.
The positive impact was, oh, I'll never do drugs. The rebound effect is that, you know, she has seen a parent using IV drugs in real life, using IV drugs all the time, thinking that they were just taking medicine. And what that did to her.
Oh, she was thunderstruck.
You know, and it was one of those things
so
that
it needs to be refined more, as many things do, right? Things need to be improved, look back, check, see what we could do differently. But the schools, and I mean schools in general, I don't mean just here in Foxborough.
I really don't think they have a lot of education around it, not the right education. You know, you can't have, it's great to have doctors and those professionals. It's the lived experience people that you really want to hear from. It's the kids that are, like my son, an athlete, and, you know, he dislocated his shoulder, and they gave him meds that made him feel really, really loopy. And then he had to have surgery. And now, mind you, this was years ago, but he had to have surgery, and he was already hooked, and, you know, walked out with a bottle of Vicodin, read the side effects of Vicodin, and then called the doctor on his own and said, oh, I have all these side effects. A different prescription was called into the pharmacy. So now he's got 2 bottles of high-value street drugs.
Under doctor's orders.
Under doctor's orders.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so the pills go for $1 a milligram.
Okay.
So if you have a 30-milligram pill, that's a $30 pill.
Okay.
You know, and it's like...
So have you worked with the stakes are high law enforcement, and do you engage with other community organizations like the YMCA or church groups, or... Like I'm in the Rotary, and, you know, there's Knights of Columbus and the Lions Club and the Masons and all sorts of wonderful organizations.
The JCs are who are...
The JCs.
The JCs,
the Foxborough JCs.
Yep, and we've reached out to other organizations. We've reached out to...
But you're saying the JCs have been helpful to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm a JC, so
okay.
They're my home base.
Okay.
You know, that's where I started when I moved into town, was the JCs.
So do you think you can take this movement to other movements similar to yours in the region or across the country? Like, are there other groups like yours that are awareness based from sort of a cottage industry, footing?
There are
Like,
other towns.
Do you collaborate?
I am a part of a whole bunch of coalitions, and they all do their own little thing. Nobody does this. Nobody does.
Okay.
2015 with the mount. The state last year put flags. I don't know how many flags they put out last year for one day. Purple flags out for one day.
Okay.
On the Foxborough.
Is purple the color?
Yeah, it's
the addiction color or the substance abuse color.
Yep.
I'm not making light of it. It's just when you see purple, sometimes you don't know how to associate it.
Well, it also has. All the colors have all different labels with it, but yes.
Do you think are you pleased with the ground you're making, even if it's in little steps or a leap and then little steps and then a leap?
Yep. If I can connect with one family and let them know that their loved one mattered, then it's a win. We have an organization that comes out. It's called Ricky Inc.
Say it again.
Ricky Inc. It's RICKY Inc. And I'm pretty sure Dad was a Walpole cop. And he's come out every year. They've come out, Mom and Dad have come out every year. They lost their son. 2 years ago, they came out with their other son. Last year, they didn't come out because they lost their second son.
Okay. So this is a gigantic issue for all of us here in America. I want to thank you for this, but we have a little more time, but very little. And I want to, if I may, talk about Saturday. Where do you want people that can volunteer or participate? Where do you specifically want them to be at a specific time to help you place flags?
Sure. So Saturday morning, anytime, 9 o'clock on, you can come up to the Common. You won't be able to miss us. We'll have the boxes out and we'll be marking the areas. We start at 9 and we go until we're done. The more volunteers.
Rain or shine?
Rain or shine.
Okay. And you're going to start up on the Common at the end where the BP.
Yep.
Up by the bandstand.
Up by the bandstand.
Okay.
And like I said, last year was great. We had so many volunteers. We were done in like 2.5 hours.
Maybe someone out there can sponsor or provide some bagels or donuts or some kind of nosh or
absolutely.
A caffeinated project from
absolutely
in the area.
The following Saturday, we have speakers, and there are a few resource tables, and then we take the flags down.
On the Common.
On the Common.
And that date and time you can give us.
Yep.
And in post-production, it will be on the screen. Like when we watch this show, you go like, oh, it's already there.
Yep.
But right now, there's nothing there. I'm looking at nothing right now.
Perfect.
I'm sorry we're out of time.
It's okay.
And this was heavy, man. This was, it's nightmarish. But we have to
talk about it.
Talk about it and hopefully eliminate it.
You'll never eliminate it.
I know. God bless you.
Thank you.
It's good to see you
again. Nice to see you too. Come on up on Saturday.
I'll try.
All right. I'll look for you.
Wow. I'm affected.
Yeah.
You can probably see it in my face. We have to say goodbye. I'm Steve Uden. This is Uptown, around Foxborough. And I want to thank our engineering team off camera, our producer, Jury Love, and those of you for tuning in. And I want to thank Kris for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.